Hello, Collective. This is Ron over at Becoming Enlightened Together. So we're at it again. Another daily reading. We posted the weekly reading, and this is Monday's reading. Okay. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and get right into it, because at some point, inevitably, I'm going to segue. So it is one of my quirks. I apologize, but anyway, overall energy for the week is very good. It's a willow in the upright. Let's see if I can see that. So it looks something like a lightning bolt. Okay, it's a very positive energy. It's basically comparable to the Sun card in the tarot deck, one of the brightest cards. Well, it is the brightest card in the tarot deck, and it's also very bright in terms of all the other comparative energies that we have in the runic montage. So with that being said, it means sun, it means clarity, clear vision. It means honor and achievement, goals being achieved. It talks about your health, life force, a time when energy is available for you to make the, well, desired changes in your life. Basically, victory, success, contact between the higher forces and your unconscious. It talks about power in general, elemental forces again, and it talks about a cleansing fire. In other words, through your sheer will alone, you have the resources available to make whatever changes that, you know, during your, of course, your inner work and everything else, you know that you have to make. And every one of us has to go through that. We have to really do a lot of deep reflection and purging and things of that nature. And it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time, a lot of honesty with oneself, to determine what our issues truly are and then to heal ourselves. As Hippocrates said, physician, heal thyself. Well, it's no different in the spiritual sense. And he also said, by the way, let food be your medicine, medicine be your food, for all you people who haven't gotten to the point of actually really evaluating your diets and all that kind of stuff, if you have the availability, to do such things. At the very least, even if you're not in a state where you have economic liberty to invest yourself in the best that supermarkets and other places provide as far as available foods, natural foods, then get into a fasting regime at the very least. That will take care of a lot of health-related issues, and it helps to build discipline. You'll be surprised that you'll have a lot of energy, a clearer thought, processes, and things of that nature. It doesn't debilitate as modern or Western medicine would probably get you to believe. They don't want you to practice anything holistic. It takes money out of their pockets, okay? And it is a business after all, so we want to put them out of business. There are much better ways. So with that being said, and as I said I would, my disclaimer at the beginning, I do tend to get off into other areas. All right, so the past energy, or the energy we pulled Sunday for today, was Aiwas. Now, Aiwas is another good rune, powerful rune, typically, when it's in the upright, but this one for today is actually in the reverse. So basically it talks about stagnation, somebody's undoing. It talks about inactivity, tension and confusion. It talks about destruction as well as dissatisfaction with one's life, weakness, and very likely a death. So now the death could also be that of the cycle, but in the reverse, this often will point to something more of a personal nature and not a cyclical or, well, maybe spiritual as well as physical, but a physical death. So, and I'm sorry to have to say that, but I have to be honest. All right, and we see this repeated more than once, unfortunately. Now, the present energy, what we have today, is very, very positive again, and this is Algis. Now, this is the one that Winston Churchill made very, very popular during World War II. He'd always flip the peace sign and things like that. Well, more or less what he was trying to do is, he was an initiated druid after all. So he's very, very familiar with the Celtic belief systems, Druid belief systems, as well as, of course, the Nordic belief systems. Just the nature, worshiping non-Christian, if you will, organizations. And that's not to say they're not godly people, okay? They just happen to worship, nature on top of, selected deities and things of that nature, but a lot of them are very, very spiritual. Okay, so I don't want to get into the holier than thou, this religion versus that religion in terms of what is and is not real, because I found truth literally in every religion that I've looked into. And I found falsities as well in every single one of them. And by that, what I'm simply saying is that, remember, these things were written down sometimes hundreds of years after the fact by people who were not there. And in a lot of cases, some of these people, especially those who decided which, for example, using Christianity as an example, which books, the 66 books, which be canonized and used as being the traditional dogma for that belief system versus the other 70 some odd books that were deliberately left out, and those of the Gnostic world, for example. And they were considered some of the holiest in practice, not just words, people in those days. So, and that's why they were wiped out soon thereafter by the Catholic Church. And we'll see the same things with the Cathars and many, many other groups, for example. So there are organizations that have, if you will, just like in all of our political infrastructures worldwide, have been usurped by the same crafty individuals who have also taken the reins of the ecclesiastical side as well as the financial side. Those three areas have been controlled, and provably within the last couple of hundred years at least. I've got the literature to prove all of this. So what I'm saying is, don't believe the things that you were more or less told to believe without examining them for yourself. You are responsible for what you believe. So, again, I got off another tangent. What does Algus mean? Well, Algus in the upright is a very powerful rune in terms of warding off all types of negative energy or evil. In fact, you can use it as a sigil, in a sense, to ward off evil energies, evil powers. It's used as a sign for friendship, the soul in general, for defense and optimism, for inspiration and aspirations, for fortune, protection, shielding of oneself and the desire to shield others, protecting. So there's a protective energy involved in this altogether. It talks about, guardianship, connection with the gods. It talks about a higher life, that which extends beyond just the material, which is everybody out there who's, involved in spirituality of any, whether you like me or not, or whatever, somebody else, for example, or you're just into one particular belief system or another. Either way, you're still on a similar pathway, I presume, if you're looking for truth. So it also talks about following one's intuition, keeping hold of one's success that was either won or given to them, or that they've earned, in other words. Okay, so it's a very, very positive rune, and that is the present energy for today. Now, the energy for as far as our obstacles and challenges, this is Manus, but Manus is in the reverse. Okay, now Manus, like the name implies, deals with humanity, mankind, if you will, in general, people. In the reverse, it talks about selfishness, uninvolvement with others, maybe a sense of victimhood or egoism. It talks about loneliness and depression. It talks about one's mortality, again, coming to terms with their own death. And if somebody's gotten a negative prognosis in their health or whatever, whether you classify as being in the positive side of spirituality or you have chosen to follow the dark side, you still have my sympathy, my condolences. Not that you probably care either way, but if you're especially if you're in the negative side. And tell me to stick that positivity someplace where it don't shine, the sun don't shine. But that's okay. It's still my wish for you. So this also speaks of blindness and self-delusion. Talks about somebody who's cunning and sly, somebody who plans, plots, schemes, a manipulator, somebody who is very manipulative, crafty, calculated, and unfortunately they can expect no help at this time. That is all encompassed by this energy. Okay? So I'm just relaying the energy as a whole. You do what you want with it. Now, as far as our help and advice, we have Isa. Now, Isa is typically associated with Sagittarius. It's like a yin and yang rune, like most of them in the second group, family or Aid. This one talks about ice, frozen, stasis, static, lack of movement, cooling, energy loss. If you know anything about the laws of thermodynamics, then you will understand where this comes from, and they knew about it 2,000 plus years ago. So it's very eye-opening to me, because like I said, I look at things from more than just a philosophical, religious, or dogmatic, and I look at it from all different perspectives, including science. So I find things like this fascinating, So anyways, it talks about also ill feelings, somebody who is basically in hermit mode or private, keeping to themselves, challenges and frustrations perhaps, psychological blocks to thought or activity, including someone's grievances, having a grievance with someone or some group or whatever the case may be. So you're basically at a standstill at this point. But it's also reminding us to turn inward, to wait for what is yet to be, conceived. Turning inward, listening to one's intuition. Devote yourself to some private time, where you can get away, get some quiet time, and just sit, in reflection or in quietness. And, before you go into a deep state of meditation, ask the question, what is it that you want revealed? What is it that bothers you or has been, heavily on your heart? And just give yourself time, calm yourself down, and allow Spirit to minister unto you. Allow your guides to minister unto you. You'd be surprised at the insights that might come to you. It takes practice. Even when you're well versed in this, you understand it, you believe it, and everything else, sometimes it's not always easy to put into practice. Circumstances, situations come up, and it makes it very difficult, but not impossible. All right. Now, the future, unfortunately, is not positive either. And again, for the third time in this particular reading, it tells us, death is imminent for somebody. Okay, so it's Raid Ho in the reverse. Now, Raid Ho is basically talking about, forward movement, the blessed journey, so to speak. So if it's in the reverse, you can imagine it's probably not too good. So it talks about delays, unexpected traveling where you didn't want to, you didn't plan for it, perhaps you don't have the finances for it, but you're going to be expected to do it for some reason or another. Somebody who feels lost, a crisis internally, okay? Rigidity, just finding it difficult to be flexible enough to move and to adapt to the situation. Remember, in terms of survival, it's never the person who's strongest or even the smartest. It's the person who's most capable of adaptation, being able to adapt to the environment and to the situation. They are the most likely to survive any situation, okay? So, for what it's worth, I'm kind of a survivalist, okay? Got many, many years in the Marine Corps, and I put those things into practice, and I practice them even to this day, navigating with the stars, with the sun, with the moon, how to make your watch into a compass, how to, get yourself water that you can purify out there with very, very few things. Just little things like that, which can become very, very important. especially the way the geopolitical world looks today. You know, it could be very, very ugly, and it could come right to our doorsteps the way things are going. Lots of other countries are finally, you know, challenging us, so, and rightfully so, I would say. All right, now, the energy for Rado in the reverse also talks about somebody, again, who's in stasis, unable to move, as we saw in the help and advice under ISA. It talks about, again, irrationality. We saw that previously with Manas and Iwas in the reverse. It talks about, you know, disruptions in our life, dissatisfaction with our life. Perhaps somebody was demoted in a job or even fired. Again, delusions, once again. And for the last time, the possibility of death. Alright, and again, my sympathies. I do have empathy, even for those who've done the worst. You know, once that chapter is closed, it's closed, and you'll have to go through and redo everything from scratch in another life. And you just realize, as hard as it is, focus on the things that make you better in this life, and you cannot go wrong. And the blessings will also be compounded onto you. Even though that's not the reason why you're doing it, you're doing it simply to be the very best version of yourself. Everything else, as God had said in Christianity, will be added on to you. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and then all else will be added unto you. Okay? Well, that is basically a sentiment that, again, is seemingly echoed in many of the other religious texts worldwide, whether from the West or from the East. And I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I do own the books, all of them for the most part. And I have read and used to own most of the occultic and esoteric books as well. So, again, that married with, you know, my interest in both history, philosophy, psychology as well to some degree, to a lesser degree. World history as it is in reality, not the crap that they teach us in school. Mythology and science. I love science. Put all those things together, you have a much, I think, clearer picture of the reality of our situation, what the matrix is and isn't, and what makes, you know, this matrix system actually work or not work, depending on how you look at it. Okay. So that's the overall energy for today. You have all of the positive energy attributes, characteristics, and traits that are afforded to you should you choose to use them and tap into them. And you do that by simply evaluating your situation and seeing what needs to be done. You know, like John Wick, if you've ever seen that movie series, you realize one thing very quickly. He doesn't wait for anything. Once something needs to be done, he just gets right to you. I mean, right to it, excuse me. And, you know, as a result, he is, you know, at least in the world of assassins, he's numero uno. He kicks ass, takes names, and everything else. And, you know, yeah, it's a movie, sure. But what I'm saying is there's things that we can always learn, you know, even within the artificial world of Hollywood. And I say that because a lot of times they put out truths out there masked as entertainment. It's not the other way around. So you can learn once your eyes are opened. You can see things that other people seem to either miss deliberately or they just don't want to know. I'm not really sure yet, but so there's all that. Alright, so I've only segued a little bit and I hope you guys are getting used to my quirky, you know, personality. Yeah, I just am who I am, and I'm not afraid to admit it or be it. So anyways, I'm going to make these videos better. I know I keep saying that, but I am going to get to it. I'm just having a lot of problems, technically speaking, and I usually have to, you know, pass that down to my son, who's very, very good with the computer and things of that nature. So once I get, you know, with him and so on, then I can get some things squared away. But until then, you know, it's just me and you, and it is what it is. Alright, so as always, stay victorious out there, and in the very distant future, we will all meet again in Valhalla to do battle with the forces of evil and kick ass, take names, that kind of thing. Take care. God bless.